Welcome back, diggers. Lucas and I have just come back not long ago from the reconnaissance. I found some really beautiful bottle tops. There's one. Here's another one. And here's another one. I'm really starting to appreciate bottle tops as I travel around, and like this particular one, it's just absolutely beautiful. What I'm going to do in the short term future is maybe have a competition for anyone who's interested in bottle tops. I'll be doing a giveaway of bottle tops. I've got Polish bottle tops, German bottle tops, now I've got Austrian bottle tops, Australian bottle tops. So maybe a competition just to get a few more subscribers up and running. So hopefully your appreciation of bottle tops is going to increase a little bit as I show you some really beautiful ones that I pick up. Now, we found 4 parks in the local area with Lucas. That's the good news. The bad news is, as we were walking around, and I'll tell you what, we are not too happy with this area. Basically, I saw all the colours of the rainbow, which is never a good sign. It usually means the area is shit, pretty much. For example, in Sydney, we're talking about, Parramatta, those type of Liverpool, Parramatta, Cabramatta, that type of area. But no, Cabramatta is more Asians, whereas over here I've noticed a lot of Turks, Arabs. So we're probably looking at more like Auburn, Bankstown. So just shit basically. And Melbourne equivalents, well, we're talking about Dandenong, Sunshine, Broadmeadows, that type of stuff. So, I'm not a happy ball to blow, because that usually means a danger sign. So I'm not too happy about that, particularly when Lucas and I are going to be creeping around late at night with little digger man. So I'm not really too happy about that. But hey, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But what I want to discuss today is Poland. Now that we've got a little bit of time, I can't really discuss Austria because we haven't really done much. We just arrived today. I did a little bit of a tour of our apartment, which I really like. We did a reconnaissance. We found 4 different parks, found a few bottle tops. Nothing really much to say at the moment, but I would like to talk about Poland to you. So this is a bit of metal detecting 101 Polish edition. I would certainly recommend for you to consider Poland as a place for metal detecting, particularly if you're white. Poland is a very homogeneous society, and as a result, if you're white, it is safe. It is unusually safe. You get a lot of dickheads with tattoos and stuff walking around, with shaved heads. They might look intimidating, but like I said, so long as you're white, you'll pretty much be fine. These guys are all right.
Jean-Claude Juncker, the Commission President, says that you're racist. You sound proud of the fact that you haven't taken any refugees.
Of course, because this is what our people are expecting from our government. That's number one. This is why our government was elected. But this is why Poland is so safe. This is the reason why we had not even one terrorist attack. Look at the streets in Poland, and we can be called populists, nationalists, racists. I don't care. I care about my family and about my country.
I have never, ever had an issue in Poland, and I've been in Poland probably about 20 times now in my life. And I've been going to different places and wars. I've been travelling around Poland, Warsaw, Katowice. I'm not going to mention them because anyway, it probably won't mean anything to you. But late at night, whatever, never ever an issue in Poland. Like I haven't even been approached, So yes, I've been doing metal detecting at night in parks and stuff. Really, not an issue. So from a safety perspective, as long as you're white, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Now, let's talk about the law. In contrast to Australia, where it's pretty much a free-for-all, apart from the obvious like national parks, private property, whatever. But in any public areas, just parks, beaches, it's a free-for-all. In Poland, it's a little bit different. Most people don't actually know the laws. There's a lot of rumours and there's a lot of crap, but they just don't know, okay? I know, that's the good news. I know, so I'll tell you how it is, right? I'll just firstly give you a bit of a background in what people will say. Oh, metal detecting, walking around the detector or detecting is illegal. That's bullshit. It's just bullshit. It's not illegal to metal detect. That is bullshit. What is illegal? It's illegal to search for relics and to search for historical finds and archaeological artifacts. That's legal, right? So you can be walking around with a spade or with a spade basically, right? Once again, walking down the street with a spade, no one's going to touch you because you're walking with a spade, no big deal. But if you are seen to be digging for artifacts, that is illegal, right? So even if it's in a lake, right, and you're with a wetsuit, basically the law says something like this: it is illegal to search for artifacts with any electrical device, mechanical device, or swimming device, basically, or any other method, right? So technically, you could be walking around with a spade and bucket, and you could get busted, if you're looking for artifacts, because you could be. I mean, the chances of you finding that is going to be difficult, just randomly digging holes everywhere. It's going to be very difficult, but you can get busted for that, okay? Whereas with a detector, well, it's a lot easier, and a detector kind of catches people's eye. So you're going to catch somebody's attention with a metal detector, but having the metal detector itself is not going to be, it's not illegal. If you are approached, I've never been approached by the police, even though the police have driven past me in a park, because there are certain parks I do in Poland. They're quite big parks, and what police do is they drive in the park. They actually drive around the park because it's illegal to drink alcohol in public. So they basically drive around just checking there are dickheads or older people, alcoholics, basically drinking alcohol, right? So they were in front, literally they were 20 meters in front of me. They didn't, and I was there swinging away, digging in the ground. They didn't do squat. Most probably because they themselves didn't know the law, okay? And most police don't know that particular law because it is a very specific law, okay? So look, I have not had any problems with the police. Even the police were there right in front of me. They didn't even approach me. Nevertheless, it is best to think strategically, to be strategic, to minimize issues, right? Now, even though I'm talking about Poland because I know the law in Poland, I'm pretty sure the law is very similar in Austria, Germany, and other places. The difference with Austria is that it's a little bit more hardcore because technically you're not allowed to metal detect, well, practically anywhere, to be honest. Now, why is that? Because from what I know, the law in Austria says that you need to get the landowner's permission, right? In Australia, you think, well, yeah, that's correct. That's right. But in Australia, when we talk about landowner's permission, we're talking about private property. Like, you can't just roll up in somebody's turf and just start digging. But what we do, well, we just go down to a park, don't we? We go to the beach. Yeah, but the beach and the park is actually owned by somebody. In Australia, it's owned by the council, right? It's not realistic to get the permission of the council. It's kind of, no one worries about it. But from what I've heard in Austria, because the park belongs to the city council, you actually do need their permission to be able to metal detect, which obviously we're not going to get, right? So, but I mean, that's just a wank. I mean, you and I mean, that just even sounds wanky, you know what I mean? Or get the city council's permission so we can, dig a few holes in the park and look for a few euros, right? But I don't know from reality what it's like, right? And in Austria, you're also not allowed to look for relics, and there are certain areas, relic and archaeological artifact infested areas, which are actually forbidden. Like, it's a historical. So, in contrast to Australia, where we don't have a history of war, of battles, of changing, of taking over of governments and other countries taking over us, European countries do. And as a result, the law is more specific to these countries, and it's the protection. And so as a result, I think it's before 1940 or something, these are called historical artifacts. And so they are protected. They actually belong to the country. Okay, so Poland is like that, except it doesn't, except you can actually walk around in parks. It's kind of assumed park is a public place. It seems in Germany and Austria that's not the case, so they're one step ahead. So what I'm telling you about Poland, it kind of applies in these countries as well, plus the fact in Austria and in Germany say you do need the landowner's permission, which, well, we'll see how we go if we do have a run-in with the police, because obviously we're not going to get the local council's permission to dig in parks. But then again, it shouldn't be an issue really, so I heard that the police just don't really worry about that sort of stuff. But anyway, like I said, I don't know from experience, that's just what I heard. So let's talk about Poland. Right. So you don't want to get busted with relics on you. Okay, you trust me, you don't, right? You don't want to get busted. Assume the worst. Assume that the police or somebody may approach you, right? Because they'll just notice you with a detector, and when you're metal detecting, well, kind of, it's eye-catching. Okay, so the police may come up to you and just say, hey, how you going? What are you looking for? You don't say I'm looking for relics. Do not say I'm looking for relics. Assuming you'll be able to communicate with them. Okay, just assuming. Okay, don't say that. Say that you're looking for bottle tops, which is going to be pretty wanky and not realistic and kind of, sort of sounding bullshitty if you're a Polish guy looking for Polish bottle tops in Poland. They're not going to buy that. But if you're an overseas tourist, that makes sense. I'm from Australia, and I collect foreign bottles. I really like bottle tops, right? So what you should then do is you should have a little bag. Okay? Once again, this may apply in Austria, this may apply in Germany, okay? Maybe some other places that have a protection of relics, okay? So have a separate bag of bottle tops, and make sure that you have certain bottle tops in there, because you can just make up any bullshit. I'm looking for whatever, and the police may say, oh really, okay, that's cool. Can we have a look at your finds? If you start pulling out, Nazi coins and old German coins and Deutsche Reichs and stuff like that, then you're screwed, right? But if you pull out a bag of nice, beautiful-looking bottle tops, it's going to support what you're saying, and even the police will think you're a bit weird. But it will make sense because you're a tourist. Yeah, it sounds weird looking for bottle tops, metal detector, strange, but look, it makes sense. The guy's from Australia. They don't have these bottle tops in Australia. He's got about 15 of them in his bag. So obviously, okay, whatever. They should leave you alone, right? So you might then say, well, hang on. Well, what happens if I do find? What happens if because obviously you don't know. You are looking, at stuff, and as you know from experience, you can pull up anything pretty much. Right, so this is a strategy which you may want to consider. As you're digging away and you're finding something old, right? You can do two things. You can either put it say somewhere strategic, like in your sock, where it's probably not going to be found, or there's a new improved version of that. Put it in a strategic spot in your location. So let's just say that you are in a park, and the park is full of old trees, like big old trees, right? With tree trunks and stuff. Perhaps put it in between a tree trunk, so right on the bottom of a tree, like in between tree trunks. So you can imagine a really old tree, these like huge, massive tree trunks sort of coming down and going into the ground. If you find an old Deutschmark and Reich or whatever, something really old or weird or bizarre, and that looks old, that looks relic-y, right? Don't have it on you, as I said. You can put it in your pocket, because if you do get busted, they might say, look, show me what's in your bag, and then what you'll do is you'll pull out your bag of bottle tops. Oh, by the way, look at these cool bottle tops I found, aren't these great? And you start showing them all your bottle tops one by one, and they might say, they might say, is there anything else? And you say, oh yeah, I've got a rubbish bag. So you pull out your rubbish bag with crap in it, right? And they say, well, anything else? And say, yeah, no, I just found some coins, remember expendables, right? So if you're in Poland, zloty, say, oh look, I found the zloty, I found grosz or whatever. If you're in euro, yeah, check out these. I found like 3 1 euros, and there's 1 euro here, 3 1 times euro. There's a 2 euro coin. I found this and this and this, right? And they'll say, yeah, keep going, keep. They might say, well, actually empty out your bag, right? So you spill out all your spendables, and that's it. So once you spill out your bag, you're going to have your digger's bag, your finder's bag. So you should have a little bag of bottle tops, nice ones. You'll have the bag of crap, and then you'll have your bag of spendables. Perfect. No evidence. You've got nothing on you, right? I don't think they're going to ask you to take your clothes off, okay? So by putting stuff in the strategic stuff, putting that in your sock, that you should be pretty safe in there, right? But just in case, the new improved method, I think is better, is, choose a particular tree, maybe a middle tree or just whatever, some particular tree, right? And if you find some relicy stuff, put it at the bottom of the tree trunk, and maybe just put a strategic leaf. Like I find as I'm going through the parks, there's some old, leaf, basically just lots of leaves that are falling down. Like find a big leaf, a leaf that's sort of, eye-catching leaf, and just cover an old leaf, right? So, here's a big tree, so there's a big tree here, and just put it down and just keep searching away, right? Most of the time, if you're doing this late at night, there's not going to be anybody in the park, and even if there is, they're not going to, no one's going to go to that particular spot, and look under one of a million leaves and uncover it and steal it. So that's probably the best thing, because so you find a particular strategic spot. It could be a hedge, whatever. Just find a particular location, right, and just dump your stuff in there, okay? And then just keep searching. As you find relicy stuff, then you put it in that strategic location. So if you ever get busted, for whatever reason, however you're going to get busted, you're going to start pulling out everything but relicy stuff. And then at the end of the session, then you go back to that strategic spot and you basically clean it all out and, say catch, and then see you later, okay? So that's something that I think may be worthwhile. Again, in any country where finding and taking relicy stuff, old archaeological finds, whatever, if it's legal, that's probably the best thing to do. All right. So yeah, that's just a suggestion for you to consider. Now, I just want to compare and contrast Poland to Australia in terms of the strategy when it actually comes to detecting. Now, I have a Garrett 400i, which has ID on it, okay? So whatever metal detector you have, if it's got IDs on it, I'm talking to you. Now, even though the IDs may be different, but they kind of work the same way. So in Australia, we have 1 cent piece, 2 cent piece, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, $1, $2. Obviously the 1 and 2 cent pieces aren't around anymore, but we find those. Each of these coins has the particular ID. With the Garrett 400i, the $2 is 83, I think the $1 is 84, 20 cents is, I don't know, 80, I can't remember now because I'm in Poland. Anyway, each particular coin has the ID. So we've got 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, $50, $2. So there's 8 IDs, which you guys will know off by heart. Whatever detector you use, you will know those 8 IDs off by heart. Then you're going to have your half a penny, 1 penny. Then the Commonwealth of Australia, half a penny, 1 penny. They've got a different ID. Then you've got your 3 pence, 6 pence, florin, shilling, whatever. So all up, there's probably about, say, maximum of 15 IDs that you may sort of be used to. And the other stuff, you kind of know it's shit. Pull tab is 76, like on the Garrett, which is pretty much nothing's, nothing else is there. Yeah. So you seasoned detectorists in Australia, most of you are probably going to get a fairly good ratio of finds compared to crap if you've got your ID detectors, because again, you would tend to know what you can expect to find based on the ID. With Poland, it's different. And I think with Germany it's going to be different, and I think with Austria it's going to be different. Pretty much when it comes to parks and stuff, particularly in pretty old suburbs, in pretty old areas, diggers, you're going to have to dig everything, right? Now why is that? Let's talk about Poland. In Poland you have 1 groszy, 2 groszy, 5 groszy, 10, 20, 50, 1 zloty 2. Pretty much the equivalent of the Australian coins, okay? So that's 8. Then you've got the communist coins, like the more modern communist coins, which is again 1, 2, 5, 10, blah blah blah, which have some of them have got different IDs, right? Then you've got your communist older coins, which is another set of communist coins. Many of those have a different ID. Then you've got your German, your Nazi coins, which you can find. Then you've got your pre-Nazi coins, which you can find. Then you've got what I've been finding, what I have been acquiring from various sources on a long-term basis is seals, is lead seals, buttons. So basically, what I've seen in Poland is that you can possibly come out with 50 different artifacts, maybe with about 40 different IDs, right? So that's pretty much going to cover most of the spectrum of IDs, right? So that kind of makes things a little bit difficult, because you pretty much, whatever it is, you pretty much have to dig it, because it could be some really, really good surprise. That's what kind of an assortment. And then if you look at German coins, oh man, how many German coins are there? I don't know, 50, 80? If you go back from the 1800s, right? You could find all of them, potentially in Poland, probably in Austria. I don't know, because I haven't tried here yet, but probably in Austria, these are possibilities. In Germany, obviously, all these coins are impossibilities. Then if you're in Poland, then you've got all these assortment of about 40 different Polish coins going back from the 1800s as well. So it's just absolute mayhem. Which is different to Australia, where in Australia you're going to find only Australian coins, perhaps, and then a little bit of British, just a handful of British coins, the old Britannias and stuff. So, what's the implication of that? The implication is that it's really exciting stuff here, because, Jesus, you can find such a collection of stuff. It's just absolutely unbelievable. So that's another reason why you guys should really consider coming to Europe. But let me talk about Poland specifically. The reason why I suggest Poland, once again, particularly if you're white, because if you're a different color, you may have problems, okay? Because the Poles are very homogenous, and they're also very protective of their race.
Stoimy niezmiennie na stanowisku takim.
We are invariably of the opinion formulated by the Law and Justice Party ahead of the elections in 2015 that we will not be receiving migrants from the Middle East and North Africa in Poland.
Uchodźców, migrantów do Polski, ponieważ jest to nasza suwerenna decyzja, migrantów z Bliskiego Wschodu i z Północnej Afryki.
Sometimes people late at night, the dickheads I told you about, they drink a bit. So if you're different color, there may be issues.
The sentiments here on the streets of Warsaw are very much against immigration.
They are Muslims with completely different habits, different political culture, which has nothing to do with our Polish culture.
But look, most of you diggers, you're white Australians anyway, so you should be fine. In fact, a lot of you might be thinking, Australia 1960s, here we come type of thing. So there are a lot of advantages. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. So look, Poland is safe. Poland is cheap, diggers. Poland is really cheap. In fact, I'm so angry because, I don't drink Coke now because the little digger man has kind of put me on a no Coke diet, but I used to drink a lot of soft drinks, Coca-Cola or Sprite, whatever, and what pissed me off is that the beer in Poland is actually cheaper than Coca-Cola is, which is why I keep finding all these bottle tops everywhere, because alcohol is really popular and it's not really taxed as much because alcohol is kind of part of the Polish culture. So it's actually quite cheap. There's specials and stuff like that. But all sorts of stuff is just cheap. Food's cheap, accommodation is cheap, public transport is cheap. Compared to Australia, it is pretty cheap, guys. So it's a safe place. In terms of metal detecting, it is a bonanza. It is really a bonanza. It's a lot of fun. A lot of diversity in coins and stuff. Military buttons, just old relics. It is really, really cool. And it's quite cheap. And so it's also nice. The architecture is nice. It's really, really good. Poland doesn't sell itself very well as a tourist destination, but it should. It really should. So if you are considering maybe going to Poland for a holiday, I want to know a little bit more about it, send me a message and I'll pass on some information to you, because it really is okay. And the other thing about Poland is you can use Poland as a base and then just shoot off to the Czech Republic, which is just next door. You can shoot off to Austria, you can shoot off to Slovakia, you can shoot off to Ukraine, to Belarus. So all these different places you can shoot off. And Ukraine and Belarus is even cheaper, but I personally wouldn't go there myself, because not only do I not know the language, but the alphabet's completely different, so I wouldn't have clues, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's what I wanted to discuss with you. I just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback about the reconnaissance. I wanted to show you off the really cool, which I find really cool, bottle tops. I wanted to sell Poland to you as a potential tourist destination, particularly for metal detecting. I wanted to discuss some, sort of anti-busting metal detecting strategies, so how to reduce the chances of being busted and potentially put into jail. So I've done that, and I also wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of the types of coins you can find, the types of relics you can find, and the implication that has on the IDs on your metal detectors. So look, it's just been theory at the moment, so no digging, nothing. That's going to come a little bit later on, but hopefully you found that informative, hopefully you found that enjoyable, and hopefully you'll like what I said. And diggers, so I will once again speak to you quite soon, hopefully with some really good finds to share with you. Until then,